forward looking at this. Now, we've talked about the impact on the business person, because like you said, and many analysts have said, the interest of going to the banks will not really be there, because what business would you do with interest rate of more than 30% and you think you can be productive? I don't know, Dr. Ekechukwu, you know better than I do. What sort of business can you do in Nigeria of today? We are chasing job creation, high interest rates on one side, and there's also a tweak to interest rates on the other side, and there's also issue around power supply for businesses. So putting all of this together in a basket, what sort of life is a small business or even a big business person living at this time in this part of the world?
If you could actually speak to some of the companies that are shutting down or that even started shutting down from this country many years ago, you'll see that all of them kept on mentioning high cost of production, which also made them not to be competitive in their pricing and also made manufacturing and doing business in Nigeria difficult. You have mentioned all these items. The exchange rate is very high. The interest rate is very high. The cost of power and energy very high. The cost of transportation and other costs associated with doing business in Nigeria are high. So only the very tough businesses can continue to resilient and tough businesses can continue to exist and survive in this country. Otherwise, with the high interest rate that we are seeing today, it is just almost impossible for anybody to want to access bank loans, because you are going to pay heavily for it, and obviously that may throw you out of business by the time you finish, have an overhang of high cost and the interest rate. So it's not good for business in Nigeria. And so these are some of the indicators. When you see an economy that is actually struggling, indicators are there. One of them is the fact that interest rate is very high, inflation rate is very high. So these indicators are just springing up and showing themselves to indicate the size of the headwind that we have in the country. And so it's just to show how tough it is right now economically.
It's getting more interesting as we move to the FX space and see that flip-flop that we've also seen. Then, Dr. Ekechukwu, before I go there, we say that the monetary side, of course, they have their role to play. Then the fiscal side also has a role to play. We keep talking about this and saying that if they don't complement each other, Dr. Muda Yusuf was here yesterday and he also said the same thing. But in specifics, what are we expecting from the fiscal side that can help complement some of this?
We have heard, we have listened to some of the measures taken by the fiscal side, where some exemptions have been given to some kinds of agricultural inputs and agricultural products and agricultural machineries, and of course the items of CNG cylinders and things like that. And of course, some of those things that may affect basic needs of an average Nigerian. Those are some of the things, some of the measures we expect that will happen. And we also expect that apart from these exemptions, there may be need for some reduction in certain taxes in some areas. There may be import duties, there may be excise duties, there also may be export duties. And so when we have to reduce some of these, then they may start helping to reduce cost of production. But above all, we also see that many times, like you noted, the efforts made by monetary policy may not be complemented by fiscal policy. But of course, we have seen the efforts made by government in trying to scale down on certain rates or certain taxes meant for certain categories of products that may affect the day-to-day life of an average Nigerian. But having said this, I was wondering why we were talking about exemption of tax on CNG cylinders and things like that for the new conversions we are going to do. I expected that all those things should have happened in Nigeria. There are companies in Nigeria that are manufacturing cylinders, and of course, we have excess of this gas. So why are we talking about importation of CNG components?
Okay.
I don't expect that we have to import all those.
Dr. Ekechukwu,